Roger Marshall is here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM, and we are streaming on a Friday morning, of course, on the KCMO Talk Radio app. So, Senator, when you have had these conversations, of course, with whether it's members of Congress or others in the Jewish community, whether it's back here in Kansas or in Washington, D.C., you alluded to some of that fear that they sadly have to live in. But, you know, I hear things like this from Ilhan Omar, a member of Congress. She was asked about this yesterday, and you can't even get, an I'm sorry or that's a shame. Here's what she had to say.
Congresswoman Omar, can I get your reaction to the shooting that happened in D.C. last night?
I'm going to go for now.
Why is there this footsie on the far left side of the political aisle with some of this terrorism?
Yeah, Pete. It's inexplicable to me. I'm afraid it's a deep-seated hatred, and I'm reaching. I don't know how to explain it. I think the only insight I would give you right now is that in the Middle East, the Palestinians are so afraid that Donald Trump's going to find some type of peace that they've lost it. When they see us making progress, that's really what prompted October the 7th. When the Palestinians saw that President Trump was making progress in finding some type of peace agreements between the Saudis and Israel, that's when they acted out here. So I don't have an explanation, Pete. I just don't.
Yeah. Well, Senator, there's obviously a lot going on right now. I do want to ask you, too, about the Maha Commission yesterday. It came out. The president highlighted some of the things that you and I have talked about before, and that is the skyrocketing child obesity rates. We've got 40% of children who are dealing with one chronic disease. If you could put on, the white doctor vest here for a second and take us through what you heard yesterday and what you want to see come out of this Maha Commission going forward.
Right, Pete. So, as a physician, I delivered a baby most every day for 25 years. We battled an epidemic of diabetes, of pregnancy, and now, believe it or not, the number one killer of women from the time they conceive till a year after they've had the baby is actually suicide and fentanyl poisoning. So we're losing more people from suicide, fentanyl poisoning than we are from preeclampsia or hemorrhage and all those types of things as well. So I lived it. I lived this my whole life as a professional. But on the other hand, I had a foot in agriculture. I'm a fifth generation farm kid, and representing the great state of Kansas. It's an ag state. Sat on the ag committee, and the president has asked me to help bridge this gap between agriculture and Maha. And that's what Secretary asked me to go to the White House yesterday and be part of this presentation, is for me to start sharing what agriculture is doing. Pete, and agriculture is doing amazing things out there. We're going so much with less. We're using less and less fertilizer, less and less pesticides, but we also have to keep groceries down to an affordable price. Not everyone can afford to shop at Whole Foods. Most of the people in Kansas shop probably at Walmart or Kroger's or Target or something like that. So we need affordable groceries too, and my job is to help thread that needle. And then what can I do on the ag committee to help the farmers, use more of this precision agriculture, this growing more with less? And then I'm bringing together a package of bills to help support this Maha movement, whether it would be to help the agriculture on the farm bill, use more conservation techniques, or over on the healthcare side is addressing, what is safe. I really don't know sometimes as a doctor, but this is what we do know, Pete, is that ultra-processed food is not healthy for you. 70% of our calories are coming from ultra-processed foods right now. That's a really simple thing. I would just challenge you, me, all our listeners to not open a package today to eat any food and see how tough that is.
Yeah, you're right. It is difficult. So I know that you've got this balancing act that you've been kind of tasked with, which is supporting Maha and moving that agenda forward, but also, the glyphosate that farmers use. There's a big battle right now on the Missouri side of the state line where a lot of farmers want to use it, but a lot in the Maha movement are against the use of glyphosate by farmers. So what is that balance there, if there is one?
Right. There absolutely is. And first of all, there's a lot of misinformation out there. We don't use nearly It's Roundup, of course. And by the way, people, you're using Roundup on the golf course, in your backyard, all those things. Be careful. Try not to get it on your hands. Wash your hands. Maybe there's other alternatives out there. But look, agriculture is responding. We no longer spray crops at the end to kill them, so to speak, before harvest. So we don't use it on our wheat crops anymore at the end. But if you want to use no-till farming, it's a technique where we don't disturb the soil anymore. You have to use Roundup to kill those weeds. But we're using less and less and less of it. And I'm going to brag on my sorghum farmers out west. Sorghum, Milo is what we called it. By the way, it's gluten-free. But there's a group of farmers out there that are measuring their soil health. They're measuring how much Roundup is in their soil. And then after they harvest the sorghum, they're measuring how much is in the grain, how much Roundup's in the grain. And then after they mill it, they're measuring how much Roundup is in it. And because they're using the highest of standards, they're using such a small amount, they're able to sell it into infant formula, and they're able to crack the EU market as well. So it can be done, but it's more expensive. Now, the good news is we figured out a market for those farmers to get about $1.50 a bushel more when they follow these techniques. So it's expensive to do it, but you are seeing a transition right before our eye. More and more, there's more fertilizer additives out there. They're typically organisms that can attach to the roots of the plants and help not only just grab water, but grab fertilizers as well out of the soil. So the big emphasis in agriculture to me today is soil health. Soil health leads to more nutrient-safe food.
In the next minute or so, Senator, what is that one thing? I mean, we heard the president and Bobby Kennedy yesterday talk about obesity rates on kids, chronic disease, not getting out, exercise, what they're eating, what they're doing, sitting in front of screens. Do you spread out vaccines more? What do you do? Is there one thing that you think, above all else, should be the focus of this MAHA commission?
So it's what is a healthy diet? And it's going to be more focused on the quality of the nutrition as opposed to just counting calories. And number two is getting away from processed food, ultra-processed foods, getting away from opening that package. And I think what people are going to learn is when you eat ultra-processed food, and this is a little technical here, but your colon doesn't get any workout. And all those good bacteria in your colon die. They're starving to death, and that's why people have to supplement with probiotics. So I think we're going to see it's going to take time. So it's much easier to drive through McDonald's than it is to fix something at home. But I'm telling you, the time the effort is worth the time. It's worth your health as well. So I think it's getting away from ultra processed foods and figuring out how we can still be economical, how we can still live the lifestyle that we all want to live.
I can't end the conversation on colon talk. So last thing for you here, real quick. The big beautiful bill goes to the Senate. Where do you think that thing is at, and when can you get it to the president's desk, or I guess back to the House after you make your tweaks? What's our timeline here?
Yeah, Pete, I think July 4th, to answer your question, is our goal. I think we could even get it done sooner. They made a lot of progress on this bill the last 2 weeks. They made it more conservative. They cut back on some of the spending. They've tightened up some of the work requirements. So they did a lot of good things the last 2 weeks last 2 days that we were going to have to do to start with. But there's still an opportunity to work on saving some money. They did not do a very good job of addressing our national debt, so that's where our emphasis is going to be. But a big congratulations to Speaker Mike Johnson and President Trump on getting this across the finish line in the House. Think of it this way, Pete. Think of the House as like a cup of coffee. It's just as full as can be. It's spilling over. The Senate as a saucer. And we're catching those drippings. We need to go back and figure out the unintended consequences. Where were the mistakes? Where can we tighten things up a little bit more? And I'm so excited. Medicaid is something I've been working on my whole life as a physician, as a person who's helped run a hospital, oversee health departments. I think there's so much more opportunity to preserve, to save Medicaid, and we're going to do everything. We will not touch anybody who's in a nursing home on Medicaid, anybody on disabilities on Medicaid, that we can make that program even better. But for crying out loud, if you're young, you're healthy, and you don't have a dependence at home, you should be able to go up there and get a job, and we want to help you do that as well.
All right, Senator. Thank you very much, as always, for your time. I appreciate it, and have a good weekend. We'll talk to you soon.